I stand on a bench and rattle it off without a pause. All the boys stand around me and envy me. The women weep. It's an ironic story, as you can tell, that his loss becomes a, quote, blessing. But in a sense, it really is a blessing, not for him. I want to lift up the blessing of grief. The blessing not of having it, but of being a mourner, and the blessing you can give others. Because you see, just like in the synagogue, where every week those who have lost a parent, a spouse, a child, or a sibling lead the room in prayer, every one of us in our moment of grief can lead others through life. Because when we bring our grief into the room, it is the dead who bless the living. It is the past that blesses the future. We need the dead with us, not on plaques, not in engraved places. We need them in our lives. I know this because many, many years ago, before I was ordained, I was asked to do a memorial for an old woman who had just lost her sister. They were two Jewish sisters. They'd never been to synagogue in years. And because I was one of their few friends, they asked me to do the service, but they wanted someone to say the Kaddish, which I'd never heard before, so I asked a friend who was Jewish to come and do it. And as he started to say the words, V'yiskadal, V'yiskadash Shemei Rabbah, the surviving sister collapsed in sobs of grief. I wondered why, and then I realized that ritual made it real. We lose someone in our hearts personally, but when we say it aloud, it becomes completely real. It is no longer a loss. It is death that comes into the room, and we all know what's going on. At the end of every passage in the Kaddish, it says, and let us all say, Amen. That's the title of the sermon. Because the prayer cannot be completed unless everyone says amen. No one can pray on behalf of another. You can say the words and then you invite them to affirm them by saying, V'imru, let us all say, Amen. Some years later, it became my own personal story. When I began to attend synagogue services when I was living in New York, I started going because my father had passed away, and I still thought about him a lot. And I said, where can I go where I can still grieve? Not on Sunday mornings. I'm a liberal. We're always happy. We're cheerful. We're about the future. We don't dwell on the past. And yet my father's memory was with me. And I wasn't so much sad as I wanted to bring my sadness into the room. I didn't want to tell people about him. I just wanted to be sad and for that to be okay. And I asked the rabbi if I could stand when they said Kaddish. And he said, well, that's troubling. You see, friend, and he was a friend of mine, technically, only Jews can recite it because they have to lead the prayer of the people. But he said, if you wish to recite it sitting down, that's all right. Now that my mother is gone, when I go to synagogue, I have 4 reasons to recite Kaddish. Yesterday, I did it for my firstborn son, who was stillborn on this day, May 27th, 1983. He never took a breath. But one day a year, I can say Kaddish for my son. And he's alive. And in September, for my 3rd son, who lived only 6 months, who will never build a building or write a book, who will never give me grandchildren, on that day, he lives. And for my mother in October, and my father next May, whose blessings to me become more and more apparent every day, I tell people, ironically, I love having dead parents. You know why? Because every day I think about them, I love them more. But twice a year they live because I can speak their names. And I'm saying there's something missing in our lives, not just at Fountain Street Church, but in our culture, that we cannot bring our sadness out in public. By 2 weeks, we're expected to move on with it. That's all in the past, right? It's nothing you need to know, as the grandmother said. We should move on. The future is what we're interested in, not the past. And yet, if we do not bring the dead with us, how alive are we? We need a kind of Kaddish for our lives, whether in this church or in our culture, maybe both. We need a way for the dead to be present with us in our sadness and in our gratitude, to be able to bless us. Yes, we need the ancestors to bless us as in ancient days. We need the past to bless the future. because without it, we can't be fully alive. Without our grief, we are not all present in spirit. Without our losses, we are not present in our hearts. If we cannot bring our grief and our sorrow and our losses into church, what good are we? Without our dead, we're not alive. Their bodies are buried in peace, says Ecclesiasticus, but their names live forevermore. The people will tell of their wisdom, and the congregation will show forth their praise. That's what we need to do. Not just one day, but somehow every day. To praise our parents and our children, all those who went before us, to let their blessing fall upon us, to let our broken hearts be with us, because broken hearts are the only thing that can let any new love in. I don't know how to do this, friends. I only know how to weep. But we must find a way to weep together. In the words of that great prayer, I truly hope that it will come speedily in our own lifetimes, in the life of all. And let us always say, Amen. I invite you, please, to sing with your broken hearts. I choose this hymn not only because it is beautiful, but because for many years it was sung at the memorial service for it was the text, not the tune. The text was recited at the end of a memorial service for my colleague clergy. The fourth verse always speaks to me. They go again to be the dust they tread. You breathe upon the dust. They rise and are. Let us breathe upon the dust, that the dead may ever live with our love. Let us sing number 284, Praise My Heart to You, O Source of Life. While life fills my flesh with breath, as long as life shall stream from you within me, I will sing your light this day and tomorrow and every day, knowing that this day is one which I did not make, but which the Holy One did. And I rejoice and am glad that I may sing yet again and raise the dust to life. Amen and amen.